The revolutionary matrix of Jesus, the Black Messiah. The scripture, then Jesus cried aloud, "Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as light into the world, so that everyone who believes in me should not remain in the darkness. The one who rejects me and does not receive my word has a judge. On the last day, the word that I have spoken will serve as judge, for I have not spoken on my own, but the Father who sent me has himself given me a commandment about what to say and what to speak. What I speak, therefore, I speak just as the Father has told me." John 12:44 through 50. The text, then Jesus cried aloud, "Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me." John 12th chapter and 44th verse. In our Bible lesson, after Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem as the Messiah, there were those who did not believe. Although he had performed so many signs in their presence, they did not believe in him. John 12:37. Jesus believed. This was prophesied by the prophet Isaiah, who said, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so that they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them." John 12:39 through 40. Yet there were some who believed in Jesus as the Messiah, but they did not confess it, for fear that they would be put out of the synagogue, for they loved human glory more than the glory that comes from God. John 12th chapter, 43 through the 43rd verse. Their unbelief disturbed Jesus, so he spoke out publicly with this message: "I am the Messiah Israel prayed for and has been waiting for. God has sent me. To believe in me is to believe in God. To see me, to hear my teachings, to witness my healing is to know the will of God. I am not speaking my words, but the words of God who has commanded me as to what to say and what to speak." Jesus' unwavering belief in God, sending him into the world as the Messiah, grew out of the revolutionary matrix of the Essenic period before he was born and during his life and ministry. Point 1. I understand the revolutionary matrix in which Jesus, the Black Messiah, was born. Beginning around 200 BC and extending well into the 1st century AD, the Black nation Israel was in a state of unrest. The Greeks and then the Romans oppressed them. These were Gentiles, Hellenistic groups. The Greek king, Antiochus, sent instructions that the people of Israel were to adopt Greek customs and no longer could offer sacrifices and libations. They were banned from honoring the Sabbath and told not to circumcise their sons. These were done so that Israel could forget the law. If any Israelite was caught practicing his religion, he was put to death. Women who had their children circumcised were put to death with their babies hung around their necks. 1 Maccabees, 1st chapter, 60th verse. Herod, appointed by the Romans as the puppet king of Israel, along with his cohorts, continued to oppress Israel through heavy taxation and suppression of any revolutionary uprisings. Some small farmers could not pay even the Roman taxes, and thus did lose their land, creating a growing number of landless day laborers, widespread immigration, and a social class of robbers and beggars. In the year Jesus was born, the Roman army invaded the country to quell a Jewish revolt, ending with the mass crucifixion of 2,000. Even under these circumstances, there were many Israelites who conformed to Hellenism. So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem, such as the pagans have, disguised their circumcision, and abandoned the Holy Covenant, submitting to the heathen rule as willing slaves of impiety. 1 Maccabees, 1st chapter, 15 through the 16th verse. Israel's relationship with God was not good, for many had abandoned God and adopted the ways of the Greek and Roman oppressors. The cities were cesspools of corruption, prostitution, and riotous living, dwelling places of sinners. Even the high priests were apostates from the law, betraying God's statutes because of riches. Israel's unrest, due to oppression and their identification with the Greeks and the Romans, prompted many to separate themselves from this sinfulness. But there were those who believed that if they were true to their covenant faith, that God would send them a Messiah, an individual into the world to remake their lives and remake Israel. The whole nature of Israel shifted during this period, and they were compelled to show God they were not all sinners and could return in the fullness of faith. Quoted Reverend Albert B. Clegg. These were apocalyptic nationalists who made radical changes in their lives. These radical changes, moving from individualism to communalism, are what make up a revolution. God fulfilled his promise of the covenant and anointed Jesus as the Messiah to end the evil and oppression of Israel. This is the matrix and the reason why Jesus said, "Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me." Point 2. Throughout his ministry, Jesus taught communalism as a way of life. Why did Jesus teach communalism as a way of life? We must look at the Essenes, a group of apocalyptic nationalists. They too made up the matrix out of which Jesus' ministry and message were formed. The Essenes believed that a life of holiness within society as then constituted was impossible. Their response was to withdraw from society to the wilderness. They formed their own separate self-sufficient communities in which they lived a highly disciplined monastic style of life, holding all things in common. A candidate wishing to join had to follow the ascetic rule of life, first renouncing the worldly sin of individualism. He remained outside of the group for a year. He gave up all his possessions and was given a mattock, a small shovel, a loincloth, and white raiment. He was required to work, to study, to pray, and meditate. If he endured this probationary period, his character is tested for 2 more years. If he is found worthy, he is permitted to join the Society of Covenanters. He is made to swear tremendous oaths. First of all, that he will practice piety toward God, that he will observe justice toward men, and that he will wrong none. Then he can join in the communal meals. Thus, having each day a common life and a common table, they are content with the same conditions. They shun expensive luxury as a disease of both body and soul. And not only is their table in common, but their clothes also. The sick is nursed at the common expense and tended with care and thoughtfulness by all. Jaramogi Obebe, Reverend Clegg says, it was during the ascetic period where love was built into the group. The ministry of Jesus was built on the communalism as practiced by the Essene communities. He renounced the worldly sin of individualism when Satan tempted him in the wilderness. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And he said to him, "All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." Jesus said, "Away with you, Satan. Worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Matthew 4th chapter, 8th and the 9th verse. Jesus gathered his 12 disciples to form a nucleus as the leadership and salvation of Israel. Following the ascetic rules of life, Jesus told them, "So therefore, none of you can become my disciples if you do not give up all your possessions." Luke 14th chapter and 33rd verse. Like the Essenes, Jesus taught his disciples to give total commitment to God. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Matthew 10th chapter 37 through the 38th verse. Like the Essenes, he instructed his disciples to take care of the sick. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions: cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You received without payment, give without payment. Matthew 10th chapter, 5th verse, and the 8th verse. Like the Essenes, Jesus taught his disciples to love one another. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples. John 13th chapter, 34th verse. At Pentecost, the disciples received God power as Jesus had foretold, and the organizational structure of their movement, the First Christian Church, was patterned after the Essenes. Now the whole group of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one claimed private ownership of any possessions, but everything they owned was held in common. Acts 4th chapter and 32nd verse. Communalism, as practiced and instituted by the Essenes, taught by Jesus, and instituted into the first Christian church, was the path to salvation and the impetus for the revolutionary movements in Israel against oppression. Point 3. The revolutionary ministry of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church grows out of our understanding of the Bible interpreted within the historical context of which Jesus was born. Our ministry is one of healing. This follows the practices of the Essenes and of Jesus, the Black Messiah. While most churches are content to prepare members for the experience of death, we teach our members the healing rituals which restore health to body and mind, making it possible to achieve the experience of God and the joy of an abundant life. Reverend Clegg. Devotionals, a 7-step process which tears down the walls of individualism. Meditation, a discipline which helps a person to achieve a higher consciousness where he or she is aware of God's divine system. Prayer, a practice which puts one into communion with God. Sacraments, solemn rituals which enjoin us to Christ, are all healing rituals in the church's transforming program of the science of Kua. All these restore energy and open us to the power of God. Our ministry is revolutionary. As the Essenes practiced communalism as a way to salvation, the church has structured communalism into every aspect of its life. Communal work, communal meals, communal care of the children, communal sharing of affection and spiritual energy are all done within the context of a group where we can learn to belong and to love one another again. Our ministry is to remake ourselves and to remake our people. So we accept the covenant as the Essenes did. We strive to live as God's people so that we may be blessed, protected, and given the power to end our oppression. The Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church is anointed by God and has been established by God to carry out his will on earth. Like Jesus, we proclaim, whoever believes in us believes not in us, but in him who sent us. We are the light of the world.